Thanks for joining us on the program, everyone. I am Precious Amayu. Let's start with Middle East matters. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says he intends to discuss possible military options against Iran with U.S. President Donald Trump during his visit to Washington this week as Israel prepares contingencies. Before departing for Washington, Netanyahu said Iran is the first and foremost issue on the agenda for his meeting with President Trump, the seventh meeting between the two leaders since the start of Trump's second term. The upcoming meeting follows a series of high-level exchanges in recent weeks. Prime Minister Netanyahu's visit to Washington was initially scheduled for February the 18th, one day before a meeting of the Board of Peace. Over the weekend, the bilateral meeting was moved up as Netanyahu's request, so it is unclear if he will attend the Board of Peace convention, which will discuss advancing the Gaza ceasefire into next stage. President Trump has pushed to advance the Gaza ceasefire to the second phase with the announcement of the board and the Palestinian Technocratic Committee set to run Gaza. All right, let's discuss this further as we bring in global affairs analyst Kash Ononuju. He joins us virtually. Good to have you join us, Mr. Ononuju. Mr. Ononuju, I mean, let's just get this conversation started.
Thank you for having me.
All right. So Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is making his seventh visit to Trump, and he will push for he will push to take a tougher stance in nuclear talks with Iran. Iran is the focus. He says it's a major issue on the agenda with President Trump, and is thinking of President Trump military options against Iran. What do you make of that?
Well, you need to understand that this is an ongoing talk. It didn't start now. It's been on for a very long time between Iran, United States, and Israel. What Trump is saying now is based on Netanyahu's fears that he will really appreciate that those three important things which Netanyahu is asking about are included in the talks, and those things are basic. One, the Iranian nuclear program. Two, the issue of Iranian proxies abroad, like the Houthis, Hezbollah itself, and of course the talk about Iran's help to Hamas, and all those proxies around. Netanyahu will want all the issues included at once, not just the nuclear issue, the issue of enrichment. Netanyahu won that dealt with, and Trump agrees with him. Enrichment should be there, stoppage of the program itself, not just enrichment, and then the issue of the proxies across the region that are loyal to the Iranian regime.
And what does taking a tougher stance against Iran mean at this point? Because Iran has seemed to have been quite defiant. They say they are open to negotiations. But do you think that taking stuff, I mean, what's just the implication of taking a tougher stance?
Well, it is in Netanyahu's position a return to the old status quo when there was inspection. Right now, there are no inspections, and that's happened unilaterally by Mr. Trump's pullout during the first Trump presidency. He unilaterally took the United States out of that inspection. And once those inspection regime ended, Iran started doing what no one knows. So if they're coming back to the whole thing, it will be one, the restoration of inspection. Two, Israel is saying right now that it actually will want proper movements towards total stoppage of enrichment of the nuclear materials. And they will also want a total stoppage of the nuclear thing, because what Iran says that it is engaged in the enrichment for the sake of providing peaceful electricity for its people. But then The Israelis do not say that. They insist that whatever it is that gets Iran in a nuclear way, that this cannot go on. But of course, that's an opinion because internationally, nations are allowed to engage in enrichment if the enrichment is for peaceful purposes. And you cannot stop Iran from embarking on enrichment if it is actually for peaceful purposes. And that's the reasons why the inspections are there. But once on the origin of Israel, the United States pulled out of those inspections, nobody knew what Iran was doing. So now, out of frustration, the US and Israel don't actually know the extent of damage, if any, that may have been done to the Iranian underground facility. We don't know. All we know are boasts, and of course, Iranian, reactions that it's not that damaged because nobody really knows how far the assemblage of this equipment and where the workshop is on the ground. But of course, you have to be sure Iran has worked for over 40 years for this day. So we don't know how far these things are. The enriched materials, nobody knows where they are. They may have been removed from Iran and taken to also share Pakistan. That is a suspicion that they could have been taken there because the noise from the US and Israel is so lengthy, so loud that it gives Iran the time to move enriched materials out of Iran into any safe place. And right now, we do not know where the enriched materials are. And that's part of the frustration that Iran.
Absolutely, and all sides seems to be
Yes, go on.
feeling that frustration because Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian has warned that his country will not yield to excessive demands. The President, Trump, has been touting the idea of attacking or striking Iran for a while now. You would remember the threat during the protest as well. Do you see the possibility of a strike because the U.S. has also been deploying military weapons to that area?
Not just military weapons, the U.S. Naval assets have been urged, proposed to move towards Iranian waters by the U.S. President because he wants pressure on Iran, and that tells you what they want to do. But of course, the frustration from Washington and Israel will remain since there are no inspections. Nobody really knows what they're dealing with except the small snippets that can get from intelligence. So right now, it's a case of he says, she says. We don't really know what the truths are. They will continue to get frustrated because they do not know if the last bombings did get down to where the facilities are. A lot of people do doubt that when CNN and the other networks reported that not much damage were done to the Iranian facilities by the US last bombing. I remember President Trump got frustratingly angry at such insinuations and suggestions. But then you can't have it your way every time. And that's how we've been having this back and
Mr. Anuju, talking about having it your way, do you see the possibility of a diplomatic solution with the stance, of Iran and that of Israel?
A diplomatic solution is possible, and that's what we had before. What's closest to the diplomatic solution is the agreement for inspections. And that's as diplomatic as we can get. It was working very much. The inspections were going on until Israel so irritated Trump that Trump agreed to stop total inspections. And when they stopped inspections, nobody could say what Iran was doing. And that led to more frustrations, which now got them to go out and bomb blindly. You're bombing blindly. You don't know what you're bombing. You don't know if the weapons that you are using to target this facility actually could get there. About getting there, you don't know the directions on the ground where this equipment and facilities are kept. So the frustrations will remain until we get to a diplomatic solutions that allows for a return to inspection that is very, very similar to what was available before Mr. Trump's unilateral stoppage of that diplomatic inspection during the first Trump tenure.
Well, thank you so much for your time. We're following that meeting between Prime Minister Netanyahu and President Trump. I will bring updates to our viewer. Thank you for your time, as always. Global Affairs Analyst Kacha Noloju.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we'll take a break now.